Now everyone, it's time to spread a bit of movie cheer.
Welcome to the Movie Cheer Podcast, the show for movie fans. I am your host AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and on today's edition of the Movie Cheer Pod, ladies and gents, I will be discussing the topic of billion-dollar movies at the box office. Movies that have grossed more than $1 billion. I'm going to be discussing 4 movies today from that list of prestigious list of billion-dollar movies, and 4 movies. I feel like this is probably going to be like a part 1, part 2, part 3, even a part 4 video further down the line, this one, because there's so many billion-dollar movies now to discuss. But I want to talk about 4 that I really enjoy, and they will be on today's headline topics of billion-dollar movie club today, the topic of today's Movie Cheer Pod episode. But before we get to that headline topic of today, I like to start off the show with a segment called What's Been on the Screen.
Ooh, what's been on the screen? The screen. What's been on the screen?
What's been on the screen? What have I been watching over this past week, ladies and gents? Well, first of all, we had like the quick topics episode last week. Didn't have like a normal episode of the pod, so I was meaning to speak about this the following episode, the previous episode, sorry, about Rebel Moon. So this is Zack Snyder's latest adventure into the movie making business, and Zack Snyder, I'm a big fan of his work. Justice League, his cut, I think that's great. Dawn of the Dead, this Man of Steel, there's countless movies I've really enjoyed of Zack Snyder's over the years. I think he's a really brilliant director. I think he's got a very unique style to his directing as well. He's, visually, I always feel like he's got like his own, when you watch a Zack Snyder movie, you feel like he's got his tone sussed out. He knows what he wants to put on screen, tone-wise. You kind of know what you're going to get from a Zack Snyder movie, and you either love it or you despise it. I'm a big fan of his work. I enjoy his movies. So he's making now his version of Star Wars, basically. And let's just talk about it first. So they released a teaser trailer for this Rebel Moon, and it's going to be a 2-parter. At the end of the trailer, this teaser trailer, it came out about, I think it was like 2 weeks ago now. At the end of it, you see it's part 1, A Child of Fire, comes out December 22nd. These are both coming out on Netflix exclusives. And part 2, The Scargiver, comes out April 19th, 2024. So not long between them 2 parts of that movie. It's a 2-part movie, which is really cool. And it's a short window. We're going to see the sequel. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what both of those, both of them screen movies are going to be good. Let's see what I'm getting tongue tied. I'm getting tongue tied now. I'm just looking forward to seeing them on screen, and I think it'll be a really good experience. There we go. We got over the tongue tiedness. But yeah, here's basically. I was reading into this. I was reading an article online the other week, and basically, when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, they went to a bunch of high-profile filmmakers, and asked them to make pitches for Star Wars movies. And he made a pitch, and apparently, I think this is a pitch he actually had an idea for years before, but he made this pitch to Disney about doing his version of Star Wars, and basically, this was it, Rebel Moon. And it kind of feels like it's sort of like a Rogue One more story, like you got these. The story, basically, from what I gather, is you've got a bunch of warriors going to protect this village from all these different like tribes, and they're taking on this like the evil empire. I think they're called the Imperium in this, and they've even got like lightsabers. Their version of lightsabers in the trailer. You can see it like they basically. It looks like they just ripped off Star Wars, but to me, it's got that feel watching the trailer. Like I said, Zack Snyder, his visuals all over it, but it feels like to me. Do you know what? A few years ago, they had that short film came out, and it was a Power Rangers short film where it was a really dark version of Power Rangers, very adult. And this to me is like kind of that for Star Wars. It feels like again, very Zack Snyder-esque, but it's got that really a very much a darker, a more adult tone to what Star Wars isn't, and a very more gritty. I think maybe people think like the likes of Andor and Rogue One are a bit more gritty compared to the usual Star Wars, but this has definitely a more harder razor edge to it than what you would see as a Star Wars movie, and I can kind of see why they maybe didn't want Zack Snyder to do the movie, because I think it would have been great to see personally as a fan of his work, but I think like the general audience, maybe it would have been a bit. I think it would have been a diverse, a very split in the middle film. I think a lot of people would have, some people would have liked it. I think a lot of people kind of like Man of Steel, really. People are kind of like, oh, which side of the scale are we on? It doesn't weigh to one area and one point of view being like, overall, this is a great movie. So I think that's probably why he didn't get the gig. But he has said now, basically, he developed that story. He wanted to eventually make it, and he developed it and obviously changed, stuff that was canon to Star Wars. That obviously there was copyrighted to Star Wars, and changed it around. And now he's delivered it. He's made it. This is his next big project. And I know he's actually worked with Netflix a lot recently. He had the zombie movie, and apparently they were trying to make that into a franchise. I don't know whether they're kind of still doing that or whether it's kind of like fell on death's door now. But he's got Rebel Moon now. If this catches on, hopefully we'll see more of this. And I imagine this is like a franchise that will probably expand into, cartoons, TV shows, more spin-off movies if it is successful for Netflix, because it looks like a high-budget movie. It's a really notable cast of actors in there as well. And yeah, it looks great. You got Tom Holkenborg, a regular contributor to Zack Snyder's work in there, doing the score, Junkie XL. And the music in the trailer just sounds amazing. So you can get what you're going to get from that trailer. You're going to get a great score from Tom Holkenborg, who works on a lot of his movies. But yeah, overall, I'm really looking forward to this. December is right around the corner now. We're in September as of recording this, so it's not too far away as well. Like I said, I think I'm looking forward to it as well, because I love sci-fi. Looks like a big action. It looks like 300 meets sci-fi. That's what it looks like. It looks really epic. And I suppose as well, what I was getting from this more than Star Wars vibes, I was getting more John Carter, Man of Steel vibes from this one as well. I feel like a lot like John Carter vibes, and it's weird because like John Carter was again another one acquired by Disney before they acquired Star Wars, and they were bigging that up as the new Star Wars. I think he even says it on the DVD cover, like this generation's Star Wars. It looks a bit like that as well. Like, I'm getting like vibes with John Carter in there. But yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. If you've not checked out that teaser trailer, definitely give it a watch. It is fantastic. About 2-minute trailer, really epic. Looks amazing. What else has been on the screen this past week, ladies and gents? Well, I watched the movie yesterday. I watched the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem. 2023 release, now available on streaming. I think it's coming out on physical later on this month. Mutant Mayhem, animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a new origin story. Tells the origin, the ooze going into the sewers. Spoilers ahead if you've not seen this movie. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers ahead, ladies and gents. So, the ooze at the start of the movie goes into the sewers. We see the usual story of, Splinter and the turtles become mutated and becoming, more intelligent forms of species. And the ooze is from Baxter Stockman, who's like this mad scientist, and it's like 14 years ago, and then you see it 14 years later. Obviously, the turtles are now teenagers, and they're, developed ninjas, and they just want to try and be seen in this world. And then the villain of the piece is Superfly. So you have Superfly in there, you've got Rocksteady and Bebop. Shredder is not in this movie until I will get to Shredder in a bit, but Superfly is this fly creature that Baxter Stockman had as a little fly, and then he mutated. He can talk, and he's like the leader of like Rocksteady Bebop and all the other mutants characters. And his mission in this movie, the premise of the movie is basically the turtles want to kind of become like normal teenagers. So they want to go to school and everything like that, obviously. Superfly, he is developing a big weapon. He wants to use the ooze power that mutated him and the turtles, and he wants to turn every species on the planet into mutants, and he wants to destroy all humans. And he's like building this big gun, and the turtles have got to stop him in the end. We see it, they eventually stop him, but what we do see in the end of the movie, which is really epic, is this big Godzilla type battle where Superfly takes loads of the ooze in, comes out of the water, and he's like this big Godzilla-like creature. And then the turtles have got to destroy him, take him down in the small miniature form. And it's, as a fan of like Godzilla movies, as like Power Rangers, the Zord battles, this was right up my street. I thought it was really fun, really epic to watch. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. A few things I'll mention as well. The style of this, the animated style was really, really good. I liked it. Looking at like the Into the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Man animated movies they've had over the past few years, that new animated style where it looks kind of like very comic book, like ripped from a comic book. It was definitely had its own style, this, but you can see they've taken a lot of influence from the Spider-Verse movies. And it's kind of watching this movie, the new Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem. I'm watching it, and it kind of looks like I'm watching a comic book move. It's really weird to describe. You're watching it, and it's like watching. It's like the palette. It looks like it's painted like sort of like a color palette of and the shading of a comic book, and then you're watching it visually, and you're like, this is like I'm watching a comic book come to life. It is so cool to watch. I really enjoy that. I think the art style was really captivating and really. I love it now when you're watching films. You're like, they're really doing something new there, and I like that. And they definitely did something really different with the art style here. So the story, like I said, the story was really fun. I really liked it. We had the tease at the end as well of the Shredder in the post-credit scene where, this evil corporation says, we've got a call on the Shredder. And then you see the back of the Shredder's head. Shredder coming to NYC on this boat. So Shredder is going to be coming in a sequel, hopefully. I think this movie's done okay so far, money-wise. So, and there's meant to be Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a Paramount Plus animated show that follows the same story from this. So they're going to do a new animated show, and they have already announced a sequel to this. So I think it's going to be great. I think I was thinking about this with Ninja Turtles, and maybe I've mentioned this before, but the 90s Ninja Turtles movie, the live action one, that was my favourite for sure, and I think still is my favourite. But I enjoyed the other live action ones, the more recent ones over the past few years. I thought they were great. There was another animated one with like time travel a few years back, which I enjoyed. That was good. So I'm thinking about it. I think every incarnation of Ninja Turtles, obviously big fan of the animated show as a kid as well. I really enjoyed that. I think every incarnation of the Ninja Turtles has been pretty solid. I don't think there's been, I suppose, the sequels to the 90s Ninja Turtles movies, some of them were a bit, they weren't great. I mean, the second one was okay, and I think the third one, I can't even remember watching the third one, or maybe I watched it and thought it was absolutely a dud. But every incarnation, you name me an incarnation you didn't like in Ninja Turtles, and then we go from that point forward and we have a discussion. Because I do think the incarnations they've been putting out over the past few years have been great. I really enjoyed this one. Really well worth checking out. If you're on the fence about this, honestly, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not big on animated movies, give it a watch. It's well worth checking out. And oh man, the toys. I was looking at the toys. I love looking at the toy lines for some of these toys and for these movies and the merch. And as a kid, I had like the sewer playset. And if you grew up in like the 90s, 80s, 90s, you know that the sewer playset was just amazing. Ninja Turtles sewer playset, the original one. And I don't have it anymore. I have looked at buying it eventually. And that's one of my dreams, is to rebuy that in like minting box one day. When I've got the space to put it in. So I need a big toy room to put it in. But But I was looking at the playsets, and they've done like a new playset, a new sewer playset, and it looks kind of like, it reminds me a bit of like what they had with that old one, and it's quite cool to look at. And some of the toys, like the figures they're putting out, the figures look amazing, absolutely cool. I think Ninja Turtles is one of them. Obviously, it's a huge toy line as it is anyway, but when they do movies as well to contribute to that, then you've got these amazing toys. They got the turtle truck as well. It's some great toys for a worthy movie, because that movie was really good, and I feel like it was great as well. They went with a different villain, with Superfly being the main villain rather than the Shredder. I thought that was a really good idea this time to do that. It was something different. The score as well, before I forget, the score for this movie was great. They had I was watching the movie and I think I recognise who that is. It was Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails. He did the score. He's done a lot of movie scores over the years. Social Network, he's done a few different ones. Really great musician, and you could hear the soundtrack. I was listening to that thinking, now I like that. You got a lot of synths in there. It's really a really great vibe for this movie. I really enjoyed it. Great cast. John Cena, Seth Rogen, what's his name? Esposito, who did Breaking Bad. Chicken Man out Breaking Bad. It's a lot of great actors in there, and it's a really... Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan is Splinter. Bang on. You can't go wrong with that. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and well worth checking out, ladies and gents. And that is what has been on the screen this week. Let's get to today's headline topic.
The Movie Cheer Podcast presents the headline topic for the episode.
Remember to spread a bit of
headline topic. Headline topic.
Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer.
So today's headline topic, billion-dollar movies. Movies that are in the billion-dollar movie club, grossing over $1 billion, ladies and gents. I've got 4 movies to discuss today, and let's get into them. So first of all, I wanted to discuss the release that came out this year, 2023. The Super Mario Brothers movie. It was actually number 1 highest grossing movie for this year until Barbie come along, but Super Mario Brothers, an animated incarnation of the Mario Brothers franchise, the Nintendo franchise, which is a beloved video game franchise for many, many years. I'm a big fan of the Mario games. I really enjoy playing them. The most recent one as well, Mario Odyssey, is one of my favourite games of all time. I love that game. I love playing that, and completing that game was just such a really cool experience, and I was absolutely buzzing when I completed that. It was great. So that come out this year. You got Chris Pratt in there as Mario, Jack Black as Bowser, Anna Taylor-Joy as Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi. Plenty of really great actors in there. This movie had $100 million budget. I have to get the pounds and dollars out of my head, and it made $1.36 billion. So it is now standing currently, as of September 2023, number 15 in the all-time record of highest grossing movies at the box office. So really, I think $100 million, I'll just say 100 million, is a really decent budget. You know, it's a big budget, but not like Star Wars, like 200 million kind of budget. So really, I think it's a great budget for it, and to make that much money. I think a lot of people expected big things from the Mario movie, but I don't think they maybe expected it to be a billion plus movie. And because it was kind of a bit, in a way, it was a gamble, because some of these movies can be hit and miss with these franchises. You know, you put them out there, and video game movies, especially over the past few years, I think they have improved recently. You know, I think the changing point was definitely the Sonic movie, but I think before that, the Detective Pikachu did pretty well as well. Of Pokemon, that was again another Nintendo franchise. But Sonic has done really well, surprisingly, with all the stuff with the CGI, the look of Sonic before that. But then it did really well, made really good money, and obviously the sequel did equally as well. And Mario just obviously went to a different level. And I'll be honest, I really enjoyed this movie. I was really excited, first of all, when I heard about them, they were going to do a movie like this, and it was going to be from the creators of the Minions movies, Despicable Me, because I think they really know how to make animated movies. I think I think the movies are really fun, and I think they're just great animated movies. And I thought, you know what, they couldn't have possibly picked better creators for a movie, a better production house behind it, having them Minions and Despicable Me, behind it. And yeah, it's obviously Mario. It's got a great lore of characters, a great world, and they really nailed the story. I thought it was a really fun story. Mario and Luigi, these plumbers, and in the real world, and then in the animated world, but in the real world, and then they get pulled into the Mushroom Kingdom, and then they're taking on Bowser, who's like really his mission is, as always, to marry Princess Peach and to just cause havoc along the way. And yeah, it was just a solid movie, a really fun, family-friendly movie, and they absolutely nail it. I think Chris Pratt as well. There was obviously before a lot of criticism that they got Chris Pratt to do the voice of Mario, and I think a lot of people wanted the guy from the video games to do it. They wanted that sort of Mario voice, that "Hello, it's me, I'm Mario." That's the classic Mario voice. And yeah, I was like at first thinking, well, maybe they should have, but then you're thinking, is that, I don't know if that voice for a full movie, does it get a bit like, I don't know. It's a bit like, I think it works in the games because it's very limited in the games, but I think for a whole bunch of dialogue, I think maybe it wouldn't have worked as well with audiences. And I think it was a good choice because I think Chris Pratt is really, if you watch him in like Parks and Rec, he's a really, really good comedy actor. I like him in Guardians. I like Chris Pratt. I think, I don't know what the sort of like the general consensus is on him as an actor. The Jurassic World movies weren't spectacular, but I don't think that was down to him. I think they just weren't great movies. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I love just like the little things where they had like, they put in like Mario Kart, and like you had like where they're selecting the karts and stuff like that. And for me, again, I love Mario Kart as well. I've got my Nintendo Switch upstairs playing that, and when you see little bits in that, little nods to the video games. I thought it was great. So I think maybe it's more for people who enjoy the Mario games, who get a real big buzz out of their movies. But I think their movies, obviously, the Mario movie scored well. Kids liked it. Adults liked it. I think it's one where now they're going to build more sequels upon this because it's done really well. And there's so many things you can do with this TV show spin-offs with like Luigi, maybe a Luigi's Mansion movie, and plenty of Mario movies. Like a Captain Toad. There's tons of different things they could do here, and I imagine they're going to probably lead up to a Super Smash Bros. Eventually along the way. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie, and I'm finally, I was really surprised that it made $1 billion, but well deserved for an animated movie because it's. I think it's just a really. Sometimes you don't need a heavy movie to make $1 billion. It doesn't have to be like an Oppenheimer. And I like their movies, but sometimes it's just nice to have a fun movie, isn't it? Like a fun movie, you can sit back, have a load of fun, just watch it, enjoy, smile, have a bit of movie cheer. And that one, Mario movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie, definitely delivers with a lot of movie cheer. Next up, I want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, the third movie in the Spider-Man Home trilogy. By John Watts, starring Tom Holland throughout that trilogy as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I'm not really going to do spoilers now because it's a 2021 movie. We all know this movie had the return of the Tobey Maguire version of Spider-Man from his movies and Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield's version of Spider-Man as well, all coming together to take on all of the villains. Green Goblin, you had William Dafoe's version of Green Goblin, a bunch of the villains across all of them different Spider-Man franchises, Jamie Foxx's Electro. It just really worked out well. It was a really great movie, and I mentioned trilogies the other week on the show, and Sean, Media Collector Madness, he mentioned I think he mentioned Spider-Man, and what was it? Yeah, I think he obviously mentioned Spider-Man, Sean. And yeah, I totally forgot about the Spider-Man trilogy of great Marvel trilogies because I was mentioning Guardians of the Galaxy. But Spider-Man trilogy, this one has been solid. And I've never been a massive fanboy for Spider-Man. But this movie was great. You know, we had Doctor Strange in there, and he was, you know, they were opening portals to different universes, and then that's when you get the different Spider-Men coming in, and then you see the team up as the Spider-Man versus all the villains. And I think it was just a really good ending to that trilogy. And I know they're going to continue it with Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the future. They're doing Spider-Man 4 now. I still hope we do get to see more of Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's versions of Spider-Man. I think in Secret Wars, I think we're most likely going to see one or two of them in that movie. But whether I don't think we'll ever see... I honestly don't think we're going to see a separate Spider-Man movie with their incarnations. I think it's more going to be cameos in other movies now. I think it would be confusing for the general audience, and maybe it's just like a small portion of fans who are really diehards who want to see them to return in their solo movies. I would love to see it. I think Andrew Garfield definitely deserves a third movie because his first one was really good. Second one was a bit, you know, middle of the road, but I really like this Spider-Man movie. The first one is solid, really solid, and yeah, even Tobey Maguire. I think like it'd be nice to see him return, but again, does the general audience want to see it, or is that just a diehard group? I think it's more diehards who want to see that sort of movie. But yeah, I think it was a solid movie. That one, right? So we're talking about Mario was $100 million budget. Spider-Man No Way Home, this is where we're looking at the big differences here. This was a $200 million budget. It now has made $1.922 billion, and it is number 7 on the all-time list of highest grossing movies. So it's really up there. 2021. I mean, the charts are very much dominated now by like your big recent superhero movies, your Star Wars, and obviously top of the list still is Avatar. It was knocked off for a short time by Endgame, but you know, Avatar has crept up again to being number 1 because they did like a re-release a few years back. But Spider-Man No Way Home, it was a solid movie. Well, definitely deserving of making that much money, nearly $2 billion. I'm sure, I wouldn't be surprised if further down the line we get re-releases and it you know, tops $2 billion at the box office eventually for this movie. Maybe we get a 10-year anniversary edition or a 20-year further down the line and it gets to that $2 billion. But yeah, solid movie. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is great. I love the direction they made in these movies. The first one was great as well. You had Keaton as the Vulture in that was great, and the second one equally I really enjoyed. I think he has been great in the Avengers movies. They made a really solid pick with him as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker, and long may it continue. And I hope they do like develop this into bringing in like your live action Miles Morales and have link ups with them animated movies as well, and feature Tom Holland and maybe have a team up of them two characters. I think they've got it right now, Sony and Marvel, with the Spider-Man character, and it's good to see. So, third on the list of highest grossing movies is a 1993 movie. You know what it is. It is Jurassic Park. Released in 1993, celebrating 30 years this year in 2023. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. 30 years old, that movie. Here's the crazy thing. So Steven Spielberg directed this movie, the dinosaur movie. It had a budget of $63 million, and it has made overall over the years at the box office $1.057 billion. It was at one point number 1 of all time. It was the number 1 as of 1993. This was the number 1 of the highest grossing movies of all time. But it has been knocked off the spot over the years, and now it is number 44. That is crazy. That is crazy to think in 30 years that has went down 44 slots, and that many movies have come out that have made, you know, over $1 billion over them years. But you think like this year alone, like I said, Barbie, Oppenheimer, I think Oppenheimer has made $1 billion, or it's close to making $1 billion. Mario, we're getting a lot of $1 billion movies now. It's not as an exclusive club as it used to be. But yeah, Jurassic Park, great movie. This is a movie that terrified me as a kid. I've kind of like only into adulthood more watched this movie a lot more and enjoyed it more because it really used to terrify me, the dinosaurs. But I love the practical effects of this movie to this day. I think the first movie is the best out of the whole franchise. It's what is mad to see as well. The Jurassic World movies, a lot of them, especially Jurassic World, is on the top 10 list of highest grossing movies. I think it's like number 8 or 9, maybe a bit higher. It did really well. And I think that first movie was okay. I think it was a decent movie. The second two were garbage, in my opinion. The second one was okay. The second one was actually decent, to be fair, yeah. I'll take that back. The second one, the third one was just... It wasn't great. But... It's crazy to think that the original, which in my opinion is the best, is not the highest grossing movie out of that franchise. Jurassic World is, and I think the first one is just absolutely solid, a solid movie, great cast, great music, like I said, practical effects, a really good story. A story developed from a book, but I believe it is very different from the book. I think there's a lot of very different variations from the actual narrative to the book, from what I gather. I've never read the book, so I can't really say for sure what I've read over the years. But yeah, it's still to this day, it lives up. I watched Jurassic Park, and I don't think it is dated. I personally think watching Jurassic World and the more use of CGI in them movies kind of looks a bit more fake. And I'm watching Jurassic Park, and to me, the practical effects work better and they look more realistic. And I think it works a lot more for the audience, the Jurassic Park movie. But really enjoy that movie. A movie I really enjoy watching now to this day. And it's kind of the one I've watched the most out of the franchise. Probably Lost World is the second one. I think Lost World is decent. That's a decent sequel. But the rest of them have all been mediocre. And I still think to this day, I think you could do... It would benefit now doing some sort of like one where you go into like a 90s, like I've said this on the show, going back into like a 90s version and going back to like the events of that first movie maybe, and having like a different event take place while Jurassic Park, that first movie, takes place with a different cast, or maybe a cast of kids going in there. Change the vibe of it a bit more, just make it, or maybe do a TV show where like it takes place at the events of the first movie. I think there's so much opportunity with it. And I still think they're going to continue making Jurassic World, Jurassic Park movies further down the line, because they obviously make a lot of money at the box office. But yeah, Jurassic Park is the third on my list. Solid movie. Still to this day, a great one to watch. And the last movie, the fourth and final movie I want to discuss today on the show, is Top Gun Maverick. The movie for a lot of people that came out after we had the pandemic, and really for a lot of people saved the world of cinema in a way, really give it that boost it needed again, and kind of got a lot of people out going to watch movies at the cinema again. Tom Cruise obviously returns in this sequel to the 80s movie. This was a 2022 release. It had a budget, or you know what, I've not actually wrote down the budgets, or well, yeah, I don't know. It made over $1 billion, this movie. Silly me, I've not wrote down how much it made and how much was the budget. But I can tell you this, 2022 release, this movie is now currently standing 12th as the all-time highest grossing movie. So it is high up there on the list. It obviously made a lot of money. It really is a great movie, this one. The effects, the practical effects, the filming of the jets are phenomenal. I think if you watch this, I watched the original Top Gun years ago, and I didn't really think much of it. And I watched Top Gun Maverick when it came, well, I think when it, maybe a few months after it came out. Watched it, I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Went back then and watched the original. Had a blast with that as well. Thought that was great. I think the stories are very similar. It's this guy, he's in this new one, he's got to train up a bunch of rookies, and then they go and do this mission behind enemy lines. The first one is very similar, but he's more of like the rookie then, and then you've got to go behind enemy lines. And again, it's a very, very similar type of story, but it's a really great movie. Really great movie, great story. It works. The soundtrack is phenomenal. I love the music in there. I think it's just a really terrific movie. And what really stands out to me in looking into this movie a bit more, because the reason why I didn't put the budgets down, because I was delving into another area. This movie was directed by Joseph Kosinski. Now, maybe this isn't a name that you know very well, or maybe it is, but this guy directed Tron Legacy, a movie that I really enjoyed. I think Tron Legacy has definitely got its faults in CGI. There's definitely parts of that movie that could be improved, and again, all down to CGI, but I really like that movie. I think it's a really fun movie. I think it's a really great science fiction movie, and really quite underrated in a way. But he directed that. He also directed another science fiction movie that I think is really a really top movie, and it also starred Tom Cruise, and that was Oblivion. Came out a few years back now. But that is a movie, again, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a solid science fiction movie. Great collaboration between Tom Cruise and Joseph Kosinski. And he directed this. So Tom Cruise got him in this movie to direct because of the work of the collaboration on Oblivion. He was really impressed by that. He got him on board to direct this movie. And I feel like this is a guy who, in years to come, we're going to be looking back on his work and saying, this guy's a solid guy, he's a solid director, and I think there's more to come from Joseph Kosinski in regards to big blockbuster movies in years to come. That is a name to keep an eye on, really. I really do think he's going to have a lot more big budget, big, amazing movies. But yeah, Top Gun Maverick is a great billion-dollar movie. I think, again, I wasn't ever a fan of the original, but now I appreciate the original a lot more, and I think that is a solid movie. But this Top Gun Maverick is fantastic. It just, whether you like, I know, again, Tom Cruise is a figure in movies. Some people don't like him so much. I like Tom Cruise, I like Mission Impossible. It's not Mission Impossible, this movie is very different, vastly different from them movies, but it is a solid watch. Well worth checking out and well deserving of being a billion-dollar movie. So that is today's headline topic over, ladies and gents, of billion-dollar movies. Let's move on with the rest of today's show, and we go to the next segment, Case Cover Collision.
Case covers take on other case covers. Can you handle that?
Case Cover Collision. Case Cover Collision.
Case Cover Collision. Each and every week I choose a different movie and look at the different case covers for that movie and put them up against each other to see which one is the best and which one is the winner of Case Cover Collision. Now, this week on the pod, I will be looking at the Flash movie, the releases of that. This movie is coming out, I believe, on physical 18th of September. I've got a few releases. I've got HMV exclusive, the Blu-ray, and the standard 4K to look at here. But let's talk about this movie first of all. I've spoken about it, I think, on last week's show, but the Flash movie. I think there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Ezra Miller, the guy who played Barry Allen in the Flash, which I don't really want to get into, but I think that kind of drawn a lot away from this movie, the positives from this movie, and I think there's a lot with this movie as well with the CGI that put a lot of people off. But this movie has Michael Keaton returning as Batman, as Bruce Wayne, which is phenomenal, and his performance in that was great. I think the movie overall was a really, really entertainment, fun drive, of entertainment, adventure, roller coaster. That's the way I describe this movie. It is so much fun. I absolutely enjoyed it. I really did. The time travel, I think that it really did well with the time travel aspect of it. I think it was really well done. The multiverse story, having different characters, like different versions of Batman, your Michael Keaton, your Ben Affleck. I thought it was absolutely fun. Absolutely fun. I really, really did enjoy it. And I kind of went into it and just thought, I'm just gonna ignore everything I've heard and let's give it a go. And I thought it was a really fun movie. But we are now looking at the case covers. So I'm going to look first of all at the first case cover. It is the HMV exclusive limited edition 4K Ultra HD Steelbook for the Flash movie. Let's take a look at it, ladies and gents. So we've got the Flash here. The back of his, he's looking into the distance. He's in the middle of the shot. And where is the location? He is in the Batcave, and he's looking out to the horizon, looking out to the outside world in the Batcave. He's standing on like the pad where I think like probably Batman would stand, or his car would, the Batmobile would be. I think you actually see the bat like sort of helicopter above him, just over there. You see above him there. So he's looking into the distance, and it's a very wide shot of the Flash here, long shot. You see everything of the Flash, and you see him very small in the middle of the shot in the cave, and you really get that look of it. And you see the colours used in there. There's a lot of like obviously dark colours of the Batcave. Obviously, this is the original Batcave from the Tim Burton Keaton movie as well. They've tried to get it looking very much like that, the original Batcave in that movie. And I really like it. You've got obviously the red suit of the Flash there. It looks great. I thought the suit looked amazing in the movie, and I really like this cover. I think it's great. He's looking into the distance. I think it works. I think the big appeal for me here is the Batcave. You've seen the Batcave, and it's like, yes, you're getting Batman. You're seeing the Bat helicopter. I don't know if it's called the Bat helicopter. It's called the Bat jet, something like that. Bat helicopter. That's probably what they call it in the classic movies. The movies with what's his name? The classic Batman TV show. The Bat. Let's get to the Bat helicopter, Robin. But yeah, I like this cover. I think it works. Above that, you've got obviously the Flash. You've got a black banner at the top of the cover, and then you've got the Flash in the red text, with like the sort of like the lightning on the Flash, the F and the H. I think that's cool. Yeah, it doesn't do anything too like over the top, this cover, but I think it just works for what you want to see. You're going to get Batman in this, and you're going to get the Flash. I think it works. So that's a HMV exclusive of the Flash. Now let's look at the standard Blu-ray. This is also the cover for the DVD release of this movie as well. The standard Blu-ray, let's have a look at it. So, very different cover. You've got now this time the Flash front and center. You've got, three of the main characters. You've got the Supergirl, Batman, and the Flash. The Flash is running towards you in this, and you've got all like the lightning surrounding him. You've got then in the back a side view of the Batman. And that is I would say that must be Keaton's Batman. It's got to be Keaton's Batman. And he's just looking down. You got the Batjet on the left-hand side, and then you got to the right, Supergirl, and her outfit is awesome as well. Really good character in this as well, Supergirl. Above that, you've got the text of the Flash. A large use of this text now, this logo this time in the red writing with the lightning hanging off it on the sides. And in the background, you've got the lightning bolt as well and the DC logo. Then in the bottom, you've got all this like sort of like red lightning, sort of like that cuts up the image of the screen, and then it goes into like a smoke at the top. So it's like you've got the lightning representing the Flash, and then above that, you've got smoke and darkness representing Batman, which I really think is a really good contrast. And kind of like going to the right-hand side of that, you've got the contrast again with Supergirl, a bit more light. So she's like kind of like the shining light of all this. I love this cover. There's a lot more going on in this cover compared to the first one. But I think this one, to me, pops a lot more. Like I said, the other one was great because you got the Batcave. It's just a very simple, very teasing of what the movie is. This one, you see everything. You see the Batman, you see Supergirl, you see Flash. It's an explosive cover, this one. And I think it really does work, and it's a really well done cover for this movie. So far on Case Cover Collision, I've got to say that the Flash, the Blu-ray cover is winning over the HMV exclusive so far. But let's get to the final case cover of this episode and this edition of Case Cover Collision. And now we go to the standard 4K of the Flash movie. Now, this one again delivers something very different. It's a very explosive cover again. But for me, this cover is something that would have been a cover for a comic book. This is stripped straight from a comic book, this cover. I love it. So again, you've got the big Flash logo at the top of the screen, the Flash. Same font, same colours again. And a very similar colour scheme here again. But this time you've got kind of like a full body shot and a larger shot of the Flash. And he is taken front centre, very much a larger shot than the last one than the Blu-ray. And it's very like a side slanted view of him here. You know, side on view. And he's running in the distance, running to a corner this time. Rather than running straight on with the Blu-ray cover. He's running like more towards the corner. And I love the pose in this. It's like you're getting that more of that running pose, that full shot of him running, the body shot, the lightning coming off his legs, his arms, all his body. In the background then, you've got Keaton's Batman, and you see that classic yellow and black Batman crest. You see the full suit this time, the Batman in the distance, the Batjet in the distance there. To the right at the top near the flash text, the font, the logo, you see Supergirl as well. But again, for me, the biggest thing I can take from this cover, which I really love, is it looks like a comic book cover. It looks like a graphic novel, a comic book of the Flash. It looks. I'd be shocked if this has not been sort of like inspired by a certain comic book from the past. And maybe some of you comic book fans out there, maybe will have a better idea than me on this, whether this was a classic comic book cover or it's inspired by that. But I think it is a really great cover. I think it's just such a spectacular piece, a really eye-catching piece, and one I would be really proud to have displayed in my movie room. I think it's a really great cover and really does this movie credit for being like, it really, for me, just shows the kind of the craziness, the wackiness, the sort of like what you're going to see is just something mad, something crazy going on with all the different colours going on, all the lightning bolts coming. It's like, this is going to be a live movie. This is going to be a hot one. And it really is that. I love it. I think this is a great cover. So, the winner of this week's edition of Case Cover Collision has to go to one, and it is the standard 4K of The Flash. I think it's just a great cover. Really works for this movie. I think it's a solid look. You get the classic Keaton in the background, classic Batman, Supergirl. I think it's great. Really terrific. Kudos for making a really brilliant cover. For me, this one is a cover that really stands out, as a lot of work has went into it from the artist, and they've really put a lot of time and effort in for fans of DC Comics and fans of the Flash movie. So that is the winner of this week's edition of Case Cover Collision. Now let's move on with the rest of today's show.
The Amazon Top 10 is approaching. Prepare yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Amazon Top 10 has arrived.
The Amazon Top 10. Each and every week I give you the Amazon Top 10, the best sellers list for DVDs, Blu-rays and 4Ks on amazon.co.uk. Let's look at the top 10 list this week, ladies and gents. So, at number 10, that anniversary, the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who coming up, we got number 10, Doctor Who, The Collection, Season 20 on Blu-ray. That is at number 10. At number 9, as discussed here, we have The Flash Blu-ray. At number 9. At number 8, Spider-Man No Way Home Blu-ray, another one discussed on today's show. And at number 7, we have Elvis on DVD. Elvis on DVD was number 1 for quite some time, and it's still in the top 10, and it's a great movie, that one. At number 6, we have the Blu-ray of John Wick 1 to number 4. So you've got all 4 movies John Wick on Blu-ray at number 6. At number 5, House of the Dragon Season 1 on Blu-ray. At number 4, we have Avatar, The Way of Water. That's on DVD. I've still not seen that movie. That's one I've got to check out, and that is another billion-dollar movie, ladies and gents. At number 3, we have Fast X on, I think that is the Blu-ray release. Let me just double-check that. No, sorry, I do apologize. That is a DVD release of Fast... Oh, no, sorry, it is the Blu-ray. It is the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray release of Fast X at number 3. At number 2, we have John Wick Chapter 4, and that is on Blu-ray. And at number 1, we have the Super Mario Brothers movie on DVD at number 1, holding that top 1 spot on the Amazon Top 10 this week, ladies and gents. Now let's move on to the rest of today's show. The final segment of today's show, Not So Worthy, Blockbuster Housekeeping. This is part of the show where I discuss what's going on with the channel, what's going on with the Movie Cheer Town community, and it's just a general chit-chat at the end of the show. So, ladies and gents, first of all, a bit of news on the Patreon front. Patreon is back on in moving. It's this, the pedals are running now. Latest video came out last Monday, and it is, a new piece of Patreon content every month, the first Monday of every month. Bonus videos, bonus podcasts. There was a new Patreon video, a science fiction stack of movies, me going through a bunch of science fiction movies, a sci-fi stack. I enjoy doing them videos. I think they're really fun, and it's just a bit of a chill out, grab a bunch of movies, discuss them, and just have a general chit chat. So that's on Patreon. You can join us on Patreon for $1. You can pay $1, watch all the content, never come back again if you want to do that. It's if you want an extra slice of movie cheer. That's what I always say. Last week we had the Quick Topics video, and I think that Quick Topics was a really successful video. I think a lot of people enjoyed it for the talk about the Mandalorian, physical media releases, and a few of the other topics on that. But it was great to see the views on that video and the comments on the video as well. And I really enjoyed that, and diving in them comments and discussing with everyone in the Movie Cheer Town community. So thank you very much for watching that video if you've watched it already. Let's do a few comments anyway in the Movie Cheer Town community. First of all, we have Sean Blue Digital. Sean Blue Digital at Sean_Blue Digital. And Sean said, this was on the video from last week. Yes, this is a big deal in regards to the Mandalorian physical release. Yes, this is a big deal. I'm glad to see the Mandalorian is finally getting a legit release, and I've been relying on bootlegs, and I guess they finally realised how much money they were missing out on. Thanks for the update. I only stream stuff for the first watches, and that helps me to decide if I want to own something. You know what, Sean? I kind of do the same really for movies now. I kind of I'll stream it, and if I really enjoy it, then I want to get it on physical. I think it's a good idea because sometimes you go in and otherwise you're just buying a movie for the sake of buying it, and then you're like, oh, I don't actually like this. I'm gonna have to sell it or give it away. I think that's a good idea. Try and either watch it at cinema or watch it on streaming first to see if you like it, and then get a physical version. I think that's a good idea. But yeah, it is a big deal, and I think a lot of people. I remember seeing for months on eBay and a few other websites. They're doing these bootleg versions of physical media releases, like the Marvel and Star Wars shows, and I don't condone that, but I get why people were doing it, because they wanted just something in their collection representing them TV shows. So it's great that they are kind of doing it at last, and I'm glad to see it happen. So a great comment from Sean in the Movie Cheer Town community. Thank you very much, Sean, for the great comment and for being involved in the community. Next up, we have Adam Pierce. I say Adam Pierce because there's a guy in wrestling called Adam Pierce, and I seen it Pierce and it's out with an A. I was like, Adam Pierce. It's from Adrian Pierce 5642, and this is on the Will DVDs Blu-ray movies last much longer video put out a few years ago. Adrian said, let's not forget that video cassettes only went away to make way for DVD and Blu-ray. I believe certainly for Blu-ray and 4K won't be going away anytime soon, at least not here in Australia. There are plenty of places I can go here that offer a wide range of movies for a great price. Plus, let's not forget the cycle of life. Everything that's old is new again. Fashion comes and goes, and so will physical media in one form or another. Great comment, Adrian. Really great comment, mate. I 100% agree with that. It is like fashion. Physical media, people go back now and buy VHS because they like the look of the VHS. They like the nostalgia to it. People will be doing this with DVD and Blu-ray 4K in years to come, I believe. I'm sure of it. I know people who collect Laserdisc. It's people enjoy what they enjoy, and I think it's great that there's so many different types of physical media out there for different types of collectors, different fans of movies and TV shows, and it's great that you can go in and get what you want, enjoy what you want, and I think that's great. A great comment from Adrian. Thank you very much for getting involved in the Movie Cheer comments. I really appreciate that. But that is it for another show today, ladies and gents. If you enjoyed today's topic, please do give it a like if you're watching this on YouTube, and leave a comment as well on your thoughts on all of today's topics. If you're listening to this on a podcast app of your choice, please do subscribe to the podcast app as well, and leave a 5-star review and send me a link to the review. I will read it out on the show, ladies and gents, rest assured. It's been a great show. $1 billion movies. What are some of your favourite $1 billion movies in the $1 billion club? Let me know some of your favourites. Let me know your thoughts on today's picks as well, ladies and gents, and all today's topics. What did you think of case cover Collision today? Which one was your favourite case cover from the Flash movie? On the Amazon Top 10 today, I mean, is Mario worthy of being top of that list? What are some of your picks? What are some of your recent pickups on the Amazon Top 10 recently, physical media pickups? Let me know all of your thoughts on today's show. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.